Okay, imagine this. You, or someone you love, is in a life or death situation. You're being rushed to the hospital, you're scared, time is absolutely running out, and you're just trusting that a doctor will be there to save the day. But what happens when they're not? It's a terrifying thought, but it's a critical question at the very heart of our healthcare system, and we're about to break down the answer. So, to really get a handle on how this all works, we're going to walk through a hypothetical scenario. Now, let's be super clear, this isn't a real case, but it's the kind of thing that happens, and it perfectly illustrates that pressure cooker of an emergency room when every single second counts. All right, the clock starts now. A patient is wheeled into the ER, bleeding heavily. She's already been given 9 units of blood. 5 minutes in, her preferred doctor? Out of town. The second choice? Already scrubbed in, deep in the middle of a major surgery. 10 minutes have ticked by now. The resident, who's trying to juggle this whole crisis, goes to the on-call list. The first doctor on that list doesn't even answer. We're now at the 30-minute mark. That critical window is slamming shut, and the next doctor on the list, they're not available until tomorrow. You can see how this situation is spiraling into an absolute nightmare. So this frantic race against time leaves the resident on duty facing what feels like an impossible situation. And it all boils down to one incredibly important question, a question that really affects every hospital, every doctor, and yep, every patient. So what are the actual rules here? When can an on-call doctor legitimately say, no, I can't take this case? And maybe even more importantly, what is the resident on the front lines supposed to do when the specialists just aren't available? Let's dive into the system that's designed to answer exactly that. Okay, first, let's try to look at this from the doctor's perspective. It's really easy to think that an unavailable doctor is just blowing off their duty, but, the reality is way more complicated. The system has to account for the fact that doctors are, well, human. And the whole system is built on this really fundamental principle. A doctor actually has the right, and you could even say the responsibility, to refuse a case if they feel they're incapable of handling it properly in that moment. Now, this isn't about convenience, it's about patient safety first and foremost. You do not want a physician who's exhausted or distracted making a life or death decision. And the reasons for this are very specific, and they're serious. For example, a doctor might already be in the middle of another emergency that they just can't walk away from. They could be indisposed. Maybe they're on medication that could cloud their judgment. They could be physically impaired, or, hey, maybe there's a blizzard, and just getting to the hospital would actually put their own life at risk. So the key takeaway here is that these are legitimate, recognized reasons for a doctor to be unavailable. But this doesn't mean it's a free-for-all. The system works best when there's proactive communication. The best practice is really simple. If a doctor on call knows they're going to be unavailable, they should let the emergency department know ahead of time. And ideally, they should name another doctor who can cover for them. That one simple step can save precious life-saving minutes. Okay, so what happens if the first, second, or even third doctor on the list is legitimately unavailable for one of those totally valid reasons? Well, the patient isn't just left high and dry. This is where the hospital's own safety net is supposed to kick in. This escalation procedure creates a really clear chain of command. The ER officer starts by going down that on-call list. But, and this is key, because time is so critical, they don't just call forever. After trying 2 or 3 doctors, the roll call stops, and the responsibility escalates. The patient gets admitted directly under a senior hospital leader. We're talking the medical director or the ER director. This ensures there's always a final decision maker who can take charge of the situation. So, how does this all come together? Well, it just goes to show why having these formal, written procedures isn't just about bureaucratic red tape. It's what stops a crisis from turning into a complete catastrophe. I mean, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? The ER is, by its very nature, a kind of organized chaos. Every single person who comes through those doors believes, and probably for good reason, that their situation is the most urgent. Without a clear plan, that chaos would just be totally unmanageable. And what these procedures do is provide clarity for everyone. For that resident on the floor, it replaces panic and uncertainty with a clear playbook. They know exactly what to do next. For the consultants on the on-call list, it clarifies their responsibilities and defines the rules of the game. At the end of the day, it protects both the patient and the physician by laying out a clear, defensible standard of care. So, what's the big takeaway here? In the heat of an emergency, when lives are on the line and every second feels like an hour, the most powerful tool a hospital has isn't some high tech scanner or a scalpel. It's a well defined, clearly communicated plan that ensures no patient ever falls through the cracks. The real question is, does every hospital have one?